My friends, I just pressed the let's go live button, and so you know what that means. We got to wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs. Before we go ahead and get started, attending to the business here, got to connect those interwebs and make sure we're live. It looks like things are moving on Telegram. Do we have some activity on YouTube? It looks like Locals is coming around. Our friends on Rumble as well in the house. And it looks like we're connecting. That is tremendous. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about Tish James. Letitia has been busted. Miranda Devine did some digging on this, and apparently she's got a little bit of a fraud scandal of her own that is percolating, and so we're going to see what that story is all about, because there's a ton of activity in New York. We know that there's this battle over this bond that Trump is ordered to post in order to secure and continue his appeal. But now there's some conversation about this. Maybe Trump just doesn't post anything, just says, come here and take it. You want to run a building, Tish? You think you can manage Trump Tower and deliver goods and services to everybody in that building? Well, good luck. Come and take it, which I think would be a lot of fun to watch, see how she could do with that, and see what the consequences of that would be, to watch our government steal someone else's building and see how much of a shiver down the spines of other Americans an action like that would cause. So we'll see if Tish wants to do it, and if she is bluffing or not. We've got the actual appeal. So Trump has filed this appeal, and he's basically saying, look, we can't post the bond. There are not any bond companies that will even work with us to secure, $500 million. And Kevin O'Leary, who's another developer in New York and has a lot of experience in the same space, says this is insane, right? This is actually insane that they're going to come and think about seizing his property. What is this going to do for all of the other property owners in New York and elsewhere around the country? Trump responded to all of this, so we'll see what he said about it, all in the first segment, but it is getting spicy there in New York. And another New York update, just as an aside, the trial looks like it is getting continued, so we will not be back here on Monday with Alvin Bragg's trial. That's a separate case, but of course, we'll be back here on Monday. But that's just a separate note. Then, in our second segment, we're going to turn our attention to this lawsuit, which is a fun one. Trump sues lying ABC News and George Stephanopoulos, that guy who used to work for the Clintons, who now lectures everybody on ABC News. Well, he had an interview with Nancy Mace. You may remember this one. Nancy Mace was asked about Trump, and apparently the conviction, or whatever George Stephanopoulos is about to say here, that Trump got for the R, for doing the old hibbity-dibbity, allegedly, in the Bergdorfs. They said, basically, George Stephanopoulos is saying he Bergdorfed somebody in a Bergdorf's. But that's not what the jury said, George. They said, in fact, that E. Jean Carroll was not credible on that claim. And so Trump is now suing them for saying, why are you using the R word when that is not what the jury found? In fact, they found that Trump was not liable for that, was only liable for the old DJ Diddles, grab him by the purse situation. So we'll talk about that lawsuit and see what's inside. And then we'll turn our attention over to Florida, because, man, Judge Cannon came out and she dropped a whopper of an order, and there was a lot of hystericism all over X. Andrew Weissman, Norm Eisman, George Conway, they were all, I can't believe Judge Cannon. Well, so basically what happened was Judge Cannon said, all right, look, if you're going to prosecute this case, you can choose from one of these two jury instructions and take your pick. Both of them, if they are in place, are going to be very favorable for Trump, because it's kind of in the jury instructions making the point that the president has access to his records under the Presidential Records Act, which is why we had oral arguments on that issue. And so Cannon dropped this order. They're all freaked out about it. because, you know, it might result in a total victory for Trump. In other words, before the trial even starts. If the rules of the game are situated as such, it might mean that, yeah, there's really not much of a point of even bringing the trial because the jurors are boxed in based on the rules that the judge creates, along with the defense input and the government's input. So we'll see what it looks like. Of course, the left is very upset. George Conway, Weissman, and the usual affair, all very upset. Chutkin needs to go. We're going to get a mandamus from the 11th Circuit and all that kind of garbage. So we'll get into that and more. And so we're grateful that you are here and with us, my friends. It's a beautiful Wednesday. I hope you're making it through the week nice and beautifully and amazingly well, accomplishing all the things that you set your mind to. This morning, we had an amazing stream over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, our members only stream. We already did a full stream this morning where we talked about a lot of what was happening this morning in Congress. We listened in a little bit on AOC, go bananas, AOC, go AWOL. We listened to Crockett, you know, gosh, a little bit of, we didn't actually listen to Crockett. I think I listened to her afterwards, but we listened to some good people on the right, some good people on the left. It was kind of a free-for-all in Congress today, Hunter Biden, and we also saw, well, a lot of other stories this morning. So if you want to come and join us for that, then we'd love to have you. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We do streams in the morning, we do streams on Saturday, and we have an amazing community. And so we'd love to see you come and join us. If you want to get any PDFs that we're about to go through, I think I've got about 3 of them queued up today. We post them all up at robertgovea.com, along with our show reports. We synthesize all of the different segments, put them on the website. That way they are chronicled and archived for future generations. And we'd love it if you signed up for our daily newsletter when you were there. That way we don't lose touch. That way there is a nice email that you can forward to everyone you've ever met in your whole life. Watcherlodge.com is where we have our latest masterclass, Living with Meaning and Purpose. It's always good to double down on meaning and purpose in your life. Everything goes faster if you have purpose. Everything goes faster if you have meaning, if you want things to go faster. If you want them to slow down, well, they'll slow down if you have meaning. So check it out, Living with Meaning and Purpose. It's a free masterclass taught by my mama, Mama G, and it's available at watcherlodge.com. Links are in the description below, and so be sure to go check those out. All right. And now, without any further ado, my friends, let's get right into it on the day, because we got business to attend to. Tish James, Letitia, she's been busted. Miranda Devine posted an opinion piece saying that there is some evidence about a fraud scandal for old Tish James. Now, she's trying to extract about $500 million from Donald Trump, and one option that she has of collecting that, she says, is to seize Trump's property. Trump is now saying there are whispers and rumors that he might be saying, go ahead and take it. We're fine with that. Go take it and see how you can manage a building. Good luck, Tish. Trump, of course, is appealing this, saying that there is an impossibility of getting a bond because no one will ultimately bond out that much. And there's reaction from Kevin O'Leary and Trump himself. But the story with Tish is that she may be caught in a little bit of a scandal of her own that resembles what she is prosecuting Trump for. Very interesting. So we're going to take a look at this over from the New York Post. And as I mentioned, Miranda Devine did the digging on this, and she published this. Says, an Irish society, an unpaid loan, and the hypocrisy of Tish, who throughout the entire Trump prosecution sat on her Tish in court and took her shoes off to stink up the whole building. So Miranda Devine wrote this, and of course, I'd encourage you to follow her on X and everywhere. She's amazing. She wrote this. All right, to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, here's a little bit of a tale of financial shenanigans. It involves American Irish Historical Society and a Trump deranged Tish. Now, there's a grand old building. So let's go over to New York. Let's take a mental journey over there. There's a grand old building on Fifth Avenue, right? And we have the Irish Historical Society in this building. There's this unpaid loan. There's a family dynasty. There's a theatrical production. And there's James. And so what's going on here? Well, it all began with this guy called James Doyle, right? He's this businessman, and he loves Irish. He loves his Irish stuff, right? And he joined the board of this nonprofit, this Irish group. Now, they have this gilded mansion there in New York on Fifth Avenue. Crown jewel of this historical society association. They've got this building. And this dude, James Doyle, loves Irish and loves this building. Now, over the years, financial mismanagement and misfortune, unfortunately, led to the building facing foreclosure. Couldn't manage the money. Oh no. Sounds like maybe Tish should be involved in this. So in 2017, the board turned to Doyle, okay, the same Georgia businessman who came on, got on the board, loves Ireland, loves his people. So they say, hey, can you help us out? How about we give you a $3 million loan? No, this is Tish language, right? Structured like a private mortgage. And he was told that the Beaux Arts townhouse, that this gilded mansion, was worth $80 million because it included valuable air rights above the building. So he's like, all right, I mean, I wish we would have managed our funds better, but okay, I guess I'll give you this $3 million loan since it's secured by this building that has a lot of value to it. However, the society only made a few payments, and Doyle soon found things weren't quite as they seemed. What happened here? The society had become dominated for half a century by the Cahill family, and Cahill was accused of treating the townhouse like a private club. Now, Cahill was a tropical disease specialist and said to have treated Pope John Paul II and other things. And he held annual galas and all this other stuff. Now, there's this battle, families fighting this, families fighting, okay. Now, the societal's financial woes and the dysfunction had reached a crisis point, right? Battling back and forth. You see even, who's this TDS actor, DeWack Job, was there at the Irish event. So he says, the society's financial woes and dysfunctions now reached a crisis point by 2021 when Cahill tried to sell the building for $52 million. Now he died and he's trying to sell the building, and then guess who stepped into the plate? New York Attorney General. She cited a petition to oppose the sale. She said, whoa, any sale of a nonprofit had to be approved by her. So Tish steps in, you can't sell this place. She said, it's an amazing place, Letitia James said. She gushed to the Irish Voice, said, we had to save it. We had to save this building. One day people can come in there and enjoy it again. Which was all very well, but Doyle, who loaned them the $3 million, needed to get that money back. He's like, huh? I want this family to sell it so he can be compensated, right? And return his mortgage. Now, the AG appointed an interim board. So Tish comes out and says, all right, well, now that we're, you guys are having problems, you're trying to sell this, there's going to be an interim board of directors. And they tell Doyle, this guy who has this outstanding $3 million loan, they say, don't try to collect on your money and don't try to foreclose on the mortgage before July 2023. He says, all right, look, okay, Tish, if you're going to put this board of directors on here, and this is Tish now. Okay, Tish is involved in this, and this is a building and her transactions and all this thing. So I got a question, what did she promise him, right? AG appointed an interim board, and so that's her board. And what did that board promise to Doyle to persuade him not to collect his money? Sounds like maybe there was some value exchanged here that wasn't codified or documented according to general accounting practices. Now, but by August 2023, Doyle still hasn't been paid. So he initiated foreclosure proceedings. Now, remember, Trump always paid his bills. Like, nobody had to foreclose on his buildings. This never happened before to Trump. So, at least from Tish's perspective, anything she's prosecuted him on. So he initiated foreclosure proceedings. And then guess what? AG Tish, she opposed and blocked it. She claimed the mortgage was invalid. Sorry, you're a board member. You can't have a mortgage. So that $3 million that you were owed, gone. You don't get that money back. Huh? Mortgage is invalid. That's because you can't now foreclose on this, and now it's our property. So basically, she just stole that dude's $3 million. So on Friday, Doyle, that guy who lost $3 million, thanks to Tish, filed a lawsuit against the society and requested a subpoena be issued against James, requiring her to produce a raft of documents. Yeah, Tish, let's see your generally accepted accounting principles, your GAAP procedures, Tish, including anything related to campaign events that you hosted at the townhouse or any contributions to her political campaigns from the society, from the Irish Society or DeWack Job, or any of its members or directors. Now, Doyle's lawyer, look at this name. You remember this name? Tim Parlatore. Remember him? That's a Trump lawyer, former Trump lawyer, alleges that James' enthusiastic involvement in the Doyle case may be driven by connections with the defendant. Very curious. Now, what is that? And he points out that there are uncanny similarities between Doyle's predicament and the notorious case that was brought against Trump. Apparently, Trump inflated the values of his property, right, to get a better mortgage. Now, although her office is now taking the polar opposite position of that. So the lawsuit says that Doyle was given from Cahill and backed by James at some point, fraudulently inflated valuations of the townhouse. Oh my goodness, saying that its market value is over $80 million. Cahill and the society's current president general, James, made representations to Doyle that the building had, quote, air rights and they could build up, right, which is important in New York. But in reality, nope, there are no air rights. Hey, Trump never promised that or said anything like that to the banks. The actual value is not actually 80 million. It's closer to 20 million. So they made a gross overvaluation of the townhouse, and that induced Doyle to make the $3 million loan. He's like, I'll give you a $3 million loan on 80, but not on 20. So Tish said, remember, no one's above the law. And she posts her stupid X posts all over the place because she's got nothing, else that she actually does other than just media, which should include Tish James, who actively aided and abetted in the art of the steal. Shout out to Tim Parlatore for that outstanding quote. She actively aided and abetted in the art of the steal. Tim Parlatore is pretty on the money. Now, this organization fraudulently inflated the value of their building to induce my client to giving them a mortgage, which Tish James is now trying to help these fraudsters avoiding having to repay. The same theory, the theory of fraud that Tishy accused the Trump organization of engaging in, is identical to the fraud that she's aiding and abetting here. Now, James has come down on the side of the society against its lender, Doyle. That's an illegal mortgage. And yet in her signature case of People versus Trump, she took the opposite position, holding that where an organization inflates the value of a property to obtain a loan, that's fraud, even where the lender was aware of the actual value and was paid in full. So that's weird. I mean, shouldn't Tish be fighting for Doyle? Didn't he get screwed out of this because these fraudsters in the Irish society or whatever, this Cahill family, they screwed him, man. They took $3 million out of him, and Tish is backing him up. Of course, Parlatore points out that she went after Trump, punished him with a $355 million fine plus interest, like $450. Parlatore points out, Trump's former lawyer, that the society inflated the value of its property to obtain a loan, just like Trump was accused of doing. But the difference here is that Doyle could not conduct the sort of sophisticated due diligence that Deutsche Bank did. Therefore, unlike Trump's lenders, Doyle didn't know the true value of the townhouse because they didn't, he's not a bank. And Tish just ripped him off. So somebody did lose money in that case. Deutsche Bank didn't lose any money. They loved Donald Trump. They called him a whale client. An even more important difference is that Trump paid back every penny that he owed, but the society never paid back Doyle. And Tish is covering them up. So as Miranda Devine writes in this great article, says, as the old Irish proverb says, forgetting a debt doesn't mean it's paid. So that's Tish, right? Now, she, of course, is as corrupt as the other prosecutors who are prosecuting Trump, which is why she was selected for the job. And obviously, it is a hypocrisy, and we'll see if this lawsuit gains any momentum. But be sure you're following Miranda Devine and supporting her on X and anywhere else you follow and read people on the interwebs. So that's Miranda Devine. Now, they are salivating over taking Trump's properties. Absolutely salivating. This is Michael Steele who 2 seconds was the RNC chair, something like that. I don't know, incompetent, obviously. But that's why he's on MSNBC. And listen to him. And listen to how excited they are that Trump may not post this bond, and maybe by decision, right? He might just say, you want $500 million? Why don't you come and take it? Just go do it. Let's see what happens, right? Call their bluff. Let's see where it goes. But watch how excited these people are at their communist friends going and absconding property from people who've actually earned it and built things in society and in this world, unlike them. Elon, come on, Elon. All right, let's play this again. Let's do a refresh here. Come on, Elon, don't fail me.
Scenario New York Attorney General Tish James saw coming, and she has been absolutely clear on what she's prepared to do if and when Trump comes up empty.
What are you going to do?
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets. We are prepared to make sure that the judgment is paid to New Yorkers. And yes, I look at 40 Wall Street each and every day.
Each and every day.
I look at 40 Wall Street every day. Boom. It's a scenario New York.
Really nice, nicely done there. Michael Steele. Boom. Okay. So you're cool, Michael Steele, with government prosecutors seizing other people's properties from the result of political prosecutions in kangaroo courts with Engoron? All right. That's what they're up to over there at MSNBC. Now, Trump is saying, some people are rumoring saying they're just saying, go ahead and take it. Let's see what you can do about this. We're fine with that. Here's one over from Jennifer Gould saying that they're hearing some rumors on this, that Trump may not actually pay the bond. She wrote the following, says, as Trump faces a deadline on Monday in the civil fraud case against him in New York, insiders say he may be considering a little discussed option, which is doing nothing, which I like, right? I'm not a real estate connoisseur or anything, but make them come take a building and see what they do with it. And watch what that does for Trump's polls. Have them go and just put a lock on the door at the front of Trump Tower and see what that does for everybody in the building. See how this works for everybody and watch what happens. Property rights, I think everybody can relate to. And when the government, 454 million, people have a hard time, reconciling what that is. But when the government just comes and says, that's our building now, that's a different feel. That's a different vibe to it, isn't it? So we're going to see if they do it or not, but I kind of like it. Now, if they can't, this might be an impossibility, but we're going to read Trump's appeal. But he says the ex-president reportedly has been struggling to raise the cash for the bond, either from banks or wealthy friends, and his lawyers claim on Monday that it was a, quote, practical impossibility. And you'll hear a bunch of people who, don't really know much screaming that, I thought he was a billionaire. Why doesn't he have just $1 billion liquid? You go, are you guys crazy? Do you know anything? Trump's got $1 billion sitting in gold bullion in his swimming pool. And he can just, convert that to US dollars and then give it to Tish. It's wild. So anyways, the point is, it's an insane bond. We'll see if he can find some sources for it. But as it stands, they're talking about just doing nothing. Some reports have raised speculation that Trump may go nuclear with a Chapter 11 filing to protect his prized real estate across Manhattan. But experts said that bankruptcy would create unwelcome complications for 2024 as the election season comes to a head. There was Tish seated there behind the bar. Remember, she didn't do any actual legal work as far as we could tell. Every day, she wasn't even sitting at the attorney's table. She was sitting back where the public sits. And Alina said that she took her shoes off because she stinks. Her feet needed to breathe. So someone said Trump's not doing bankruptcy. No, he's been there. He's done that. But a third possibility, which I kind of like it. You want to play, baby? Let's play. Is to let the deadline pass, leaving it to AG Tish to seize Trump's bank accounts or his buildings, including Trump Tower, from which he declared the 2016 presidential run. And that includes his famous and personal penthouse. Now, it's an option that Trump appears to have considered, partly because he believes the chances are good that he could recover the assets on appeal, even if he is forced to take his case to SCOTUS. Now, even if there is a taking, it doesn't mean he can't take it back later, is what one source close to Trump told the Post. But a decision to do nothing also poses a risk, right? Among them is that Tish has the right to sell off the properties and recover the cash penalties, right? So she would just seize this, right? It looks like a giant, beautiful building. And it's so sick that these little communists have even a remote claim to it. But this is what's going on, right? You've seen this happen in many other countries throughout history. the government starts to seize things, seize buildings, seize property, seize guns, seize gold, seize land, seize your right to put something into your body, seizes your physical freedom, like the 100,000 Japanese. It's never ending. So there's a history of this, but this is a new one, right? Now we're having buildings taken. Now we're having people being put in jail. And the communist revolution is here, and it is in full swing. So they are going after the money, and that's all he has a right to get back, not the buildings, says another attorney. Sources friendly with Trump say the ex-president believes he has a strong case. They say, among other considerations, if the decision is not overturned, it will have a chilling effect on people who do business in New York, and there will be severe consequences, someone said. Not an insurrection, but people will stop doing business in New York. No one will take the risk, and now lenders are spooked. The real estate market is already a disaster, with office buildings worth a fraction of what they once were worth. And one source close to Trump says he could raise funds from friends and supporters if he wants to, but he's not doing that at the moment. Currently, he's not asking, as far as I'm aware. So deadline is coming, and we're going to see what happens. I'd love to see what Tish does with a nice, big, beautiful building and see how they wreck that. Unfortunately, that's all they do, is they know how to wreck things. And that's basically, all they're good for. But this is the appeal. Let's see what Trump and his team says. In the appellate division, New York, from Judge Engoron's courtroom, we are taking this up to the next level. It is Tish James versus Donald Trump, and Trump is filing this on appeal, asking for a stay of the enforcement of the bond, enforcement of the order, pending appeal. You see that Alina Abba is on this case, along with Robert and Robert, both in New York. Now, here is where they kick things off. We fast forward through the table of contents and through the authorities, and they give us some background and preliminary argument. Writing, Alina and crew, saying, all right, Court of Appeals in New York, you should stay the execution of Engoron's decision and do it now. Saying that Tish and her leading argument, which of course right now is that this court lacks authority to waive or reduce bond under any circumstances, is just not legally right. Tish says you can't stop the bond or you can't stay the bond while the appeal is pending. They say that's ridiculous. Clearly you do. Read the rules. The court's inherent authority and a host of other New York cases say you are allowed to stay all proceedings to enforce a judgment. Now, and think about this. There's a concept in the law called procedural due process, right? If you have a right to appeal, but you can't appeal because you have to post $500 million, well, isn't that kind of a violation of your due process rights? Like, shouldn't you have the right to appeal regardless of whether you have the money or not? Right? It's the same argument that they make oftentimes about bail and bond. Like, oh, so you can't get out of custody just because you're poor? And the left makes that argument all the time, but here, apparently they don't care about Trump's rights to appeal. But you get the point. They say, Judge, you can stay this and allow the appeal to go forward without requiring half a bill. So in deciding whether to enter a stay, the court may consider any relevant factor. And here, Trump's ongoing diligent efforts have proven that a bond in the judgment's full amount is, quote, a practical impossibility. How do we know that? We have an affidavit from this guy called Gary. They say, we've called around. We've talked to everybody. These diligent efforts have included approaching 30 surety companies through 4 separate brokers. We have an affirmation of this guy who also did the work. A bond requirement of this enormous magnitude, effectively requiring cash reserves of cash of $1 billion, is unprecedented for a private company. Now, even when it comes to publicly traded companies, courts routinely waive or reduce the bond amount. Enforcing an impossible bond requirement as a condition of appeal would be irreparable injury, and it would defeat the court's appellate jurisdiction. The court has jurisdiction not only if you have money, but by contrast, right, all you have to do, Court of Appeals, just waive the bond requirement. It will impose no cognizable harm on Tish. Okay, city's going to be the city. Tish is going to be the city, whether we post this or not. And the case involves no actual victims, no award of restitution, and she's fully protected by Trump's real estate holdings, many of which are in New York. And so that alone warrants a stay. But in addition to that, here are some other reasons why you should stay this. First of all, there were manifold errors in Engoron's order and his judgment. Guys, not good. Among other errors, they Engoron disregarded you, appellate court, your previous ruling in this case, that the statute of limitations applies and that the wrong doctrine does not delay or extend these periods. He just said, well, I'm going to allow you to talk about that info from outside the statute of limitations. Remember, they could only go back so far in time, and then the limitations ran. So Trump said, you're cut off. You can't talk about evidence that came before that date. And Engoron said, well, yeah, you can, because it's the totality. I'm not going to consider that as part of the actual case, but it's for the totality. It's for a pattern, in other words. And they said, well, that's ridiculous. They said it's not admissible. Moreover, the Supreme Court, Engoron, the areola, ridiculously valued Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach as being worth between $18 million and $27.6 million. Okay. Understating its value by 50 to 100 times. SCOTUS imposed a massive the Supreme Court, not SCOTUS, Supreme Court Engoron imposed a massive disgorgement award in the absence of any evidence that the alleged misrepresentations caused the supposedly ill-gotten proceeds in violation of the black letter requirement that the disgorged amount must be causally connected to the violation. So the damages, the amount of money is not connected to anything. They're saying the law says it needs to be. Engoron also double and triple counted damages, and he committed elementary errors in the process because he's so dumb, such as conflating the proceeds of a sale with the profits from that sale. Oh, derp! The proceeds of a sale with the profits of a sale. It's like Engoron has a difficult time with net versus gross. Such basic mistakes, if Engoron had been more intelligent, would have been prevented if this case had been allowed to be adjudicated, in the commercial division, where they know the difference between proceeds and profits. But Engoron wanted the case. So these errors establish that the disgorgement award is unconstitutional, okay? It is grossly disproportional. It's in violation of the excessive fines clause in the Constitution of the U.S. and New York, and also it violates basic principles of due process and selective prosecution. And because the judgment is unconstitutionally excessive, the bond requirement of $500 million violates the Eighth Amendment as well. It's irrational, and it's punitive, and it's not lawful. They confirm that this case has no victims, no damages, no actual financial loss, and none of the defendants and their sophisticated business partners, like the banks from Trump, testified that they would have changed any transaction in light of these so-called misrepresentations. No one cared. And all of these sophisticated parties, along with their law firms and other service providers, were well aware of the ironclad disclaimers present in all of the financial statements at issue. The $464 million penalty in this case has been aptly described as using a Hellfire missile to annihilate an alleged shoplifter. The editors wrote that in the Wall Street Journal, a Hellfire missile to take out a shoplifter. They also said there was no real financial victim, because there wasn't. They say this is choosing a target and then hunting for something to charge him with, which is literally what Tish did. She ran for office saying, I'm going to make him pay, right? I'm going to be a real pain in his butt, which is an abuse of the law. And so the judgment seeks to destroy a successful business that employs many hardworking New Yorkers, has contributed $300 million in taxes to public coffers just during the dates in question here alone. And we've also made historic contributions to the state and city of New York. And so the court should stay this judgment pending appeal, right? Just think about that. So that's just going to evaporate. Multiply that times all the millionaires and billionaires in New York. It's just going to evaporate. So they should put the brakes here on Tish's overzealous litigation crusade. And if oral argument is helpful, we'll be here to talk about that as well. Alina Abba and the defense say, we respectfully request an opportunity for such a hearing. And now the rest of the argument zooms in on each one of those final, sort of sections with some details. But we'll fast forward through most of that because they're getting into some case law, and we'll jump into the conclusion. Alina Abba and crew wrap this up. They say, so for those reasons, the court should stay the execution of the monetary portion of the judgment. Don't require the posting of an undertaking. Don't make us go get that money. You can maintain all other aspects of the interim stay. And if this court considers denying a stay, we ask for oral arguments at the time of the court's convenience. In the event this court declines to grant a stay, we ask that the court grant permission to appeal to the Court of Appeals and enter a temporary stay to allow us to ask them for a stay while this is all pending. And so that got submitted into Engoron, into the Court of Appeals, appealing Engoron's ruling, signed here by Abba and Madeo and Robert for Donald Trump. So this is the appeal, and it's asking for a stay, of course, on the enforcement of that bond, and we'll see what the Court of Appeals says about that and whether there is a ruling in the days ahead. But Kevin O'Leary was talking about this. Of course, he's a developer there in New York, and he had a lot to say. He says, this is such a huge problem. He's very upset about it, and you can see it in his face.
Now, you take, an issue with this, of course, more broadly in terms of what it means to be in an American business structure, Kevin. But in terms of the valuation, can you be clear as to why? Why would the properties not be sufficient collateral?
What a great message to send out all around the world. Take a claim where there was no monies lost. There was no fraud here in the context of actually people losing money. Deutsche Bank, who made the loan, was made whole. And let's make a penalty of $500 million against a crime, apparently, where no monies were lost. Great message for New York. Great message for America. Bring your capital because we'll protect your property. I think that was a statement that would be much better made sometime in Venezuela. I'm not kidding. That's a scary, scary message. And by the way, there are no such thing as $500 million bonds. There are no $500 million bonds. Never been done before. Never. This law has never been applied. Forget about Trump. Nothing to do with Trump. Everything to do about America and the New York brand. I love this state. My children live here. A horrible message to everybody around the world watching this. Absolutely horrific.
Well,
This
wait,
case
Kevin,
goes
Kevin,
way
but
past
hold on a
Trump.
second, Kevin.
Trump
What
will
would
be
be
gone one day. This
hold on a
attorney
second.
general will be gone one day, and this
I
is
have
what
a
you want to
wonderful
tell
voice,
people
and
around
it
the
won't
world.
be talked
This
over.
Is how we
Kevin
treat money
O'Leary,
in America.
I would like to hear what you have to
This is
say,
not
but
America.
what are you doing?
Not America.
But it's not America, but it is the.
It is not America. Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, is right about that. But if they're going to be, eliminating everything else, like your right to choose what you put into your body, or else you get fired or eliminated from, certain functions in society, if they can take away your free speech rights by having the FBI just come in and send messages to social media companies to, delete you, get rid of you, why not take your property away as well? They just take your property. And it's like any crime, right? They can investigate anybody and indict a ham sandwich. You've all heard that phrase. We have many times here. So it's the same thing. It's just in the financial arena, right? They're going after Trump in the civil arena, bringing up assault claims. They're going after him in the criminal courts of law to bring criminal claims. They're all made up. And of course, why wouldn't they also go after him in the financial arena, right? It's just different attacks. Same story, but different silos, right? Different layers of society. And it is the state attacking a threat to their power. That's all it is. And you have these people from CNN and the Washington Post who just yuck it up like it's not a big deal because it's not their property and they hate Donald Trump. But they don't realize that property rights, free speech rights, due process rights, equal protection under the law, and the concept of a just and unbiased prosecutor, those are for the benefit of everybody. Like these two people, Miss Washington Post gal and CNN gal, they benefit from property rights. Now, they don't get it yet, but when people start fleeing New York because their property is not secured, then I think they'll see a different reality, and they're probably not going to like it. So shout out to Kevin O'Leary for making that point. Trump obviously is upset about it, as he should be, and he's making some points about this. And here is what he said in a couple of posts. Here was what he posted on True Social. He says, you know, any business thinking about moving into New York State is crazy. The levels of anger and hostility towards businesses and business people is incredible. Numerous people have spoken to me about this since the racist and politically corrupt AG who ran for office on a platform of, quote, I will get Trump without knowing anything about me or my business, and a corrupt puppet judge called Arthur Engoron, aka Areola, aka the Nip, who has already been overturned 4 times on this case, a record, started doing a number on me. Engoron laughed with disdain at the appellate division, which is his superior court, when they handed down a decision which essentially ended most of the case, and he refused to abide by it. This is the first time something like that has ever happened in New York. He is a crazed, Trump-hating, rogue judge. He has zero respect for the appellate judges, and he has torn apart the legal system in New York State, making it impossible for businesses to want to come here. Existing businesses, of course, will flee. And they should. Why would you stay in New York? He said the fraud, the only fraud in Peekaboo James's case, our failed and disgusting New York State Attorney General, was her convincing, quote, judge, quote, Arthur Engoron, to put a value on Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida of just $18 million. It's worth 50 to 100 times that amount. This was fraudulently and illegally done, working closely together in a corrupt communist system to set their narrative after learning that their values and facts were completely wrong. Businesses will flee the state as migrant crime and violence continues to flourish. I paid $300 million in taxes, and this is what I get. Witch hunt. Reminds you of who is John Galt. Trump says Engoron will not do what the appellate division has ordered him to do on statute of limitations. This has never happened before. Remember, he is the judge that fraudulently misvalued Mar-a-Lago, and he's been overturned 4 times. So we'll see what the appellate court does. Of course, we're following this one closely because it is a big attack vector on the former president. And so we'll be here continuing to cover this one, my friends. Thank you for subscribing as we do. And thanks for liking this video wherever you're watching it, because we're covering all of the Trump litigation, whether it's a criminal case, a civil case, a Supreme Court case, we got it covered. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for subscribing. Don't forget to check out some of the links down in the description below. And you can grab the PDFs as well as sign up for our daily newsletter at robertgovea.com. Link is down in the description below. And we'll see you back here on the next one. All right, but we're not done yet. We got some more updates to attend to. And now we're turning our attention to Trump going on offense a little bit. And this is a fun lawsuit because he calls him out specifically and even uses quotes from the interview that we are about to watch. Donald Trump goes on offense. He's now suing ABC News and George Stephanopoulos. You may remember him from when he worked for the Clintons, but he sat down with Nancy Mace, a representative, and they had an interesting interview. Remember, we've covered the E. Jean Carroll trial here for a long time, and that was the case where they alleged that Trump Bergdorfed E. Jean Carroll in a dressing room at Bergdorf's, and jurors found that that was not true. They actually found him not liable for the intercourse, the hibbity-dibbity, but only found him liable for the grab him by the purse, which was the lower level offense. But nonetheless, people like George Stephanopoulos have been using the R word, saying Trump's an R, and Trump R this one, and Trump R this. And there was, in all fairness, that contorted decision from Judge Kaplan who said that grab him by the purse is kind of close enough to an R because it's like a digital R doing DJ Diddles, era. And that is now equivalent to R. But the jury found there was no R, which in my opinion is calling E. Jean Carroll a liar. You said you got R'd. We don't believe you. Therefore, you're lying. So why did they find her credible on the other claims? I don't know. Probably because they hate Trump. But before we get into the lawsuit filed by Trump, we have the quick clip of the exchange that is necessary to watch before we get into the filing so that we know what they're talking about. So this was the exchange between Nancy Mace and George Stephanopoulos talking about E. Jean Carroll, and George Stephanopoulos can't let it go.
I still get judged for it today.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape.
It was not a criminal court. This was
a civil court.
It was a civil court. And by the way, she
No, they
joked
did
about
not.
the judgment and what she was going to do with all that money, and I find that offensive.
I'm asking you
but
about the
as
man
a
who's-
rape victim who's been shamed for years now because of her rape, you're trying to shame me again by asking me this political question.
You've repeated that again.
I think
again,
it's
and
offensive.
Again.
As a woman, I find it offensive.
I'm
For my
asking you-
political choices, I've endorsed the man that I believe is best for our country. It's not Joe Biden. And you looked at the dueling rallies yesterday in Georgia. Laken Riley's family was with Donald Trump. They weren't with Joe Biden. The same guy yesterday that apologized for calling her killer an illegal, who wasn't illegal. And here you are trying to shame a rape victim. I find it disgusting.
I mean, you keep saying I'm shaming you. There's
You
nothing
are. The question, it is.
How is the question asking you about a presidential candidate who's
You're
been
asking a rape victim.
And there's no question about that. And
You're
you've
questioning my
courageously
political
talked
choices
about
because
that.
I've been raped. I think that's disgusting.
No, I'm questioning your political choices because you're supporting
shaming me. You're trying
someone
to
who's been
shame
found
me.
liable for rape. Actually, I'm not trying to
You
shame
are. That's exactly
You're not
what
answering
you're
the
doing.
question.
I think it's disgusting.
Well, you're welcome to say that, but you have to answer the question. Why are you supporting someone who's been found liable for rape?
I just answered your question.
What is the answer?
He was not found guilty in a criminal court
Or
of law.
liable at all.
It was sexual abuse. It wasn't actually rape, by the way. And E. Jean Carroll joked about all the money she's going to get and made a mockery out of this case. And I think that's offensive. There's a reason why women don't come forward. And when you have someone who says that they're raped and they make a mockery out of this civil court judgment, it's offensive to other women. It makes it harder for other women to come forward when another woman has made a mockery of it.
You said women don't come forward because they are afraid. They are afraid
They're
because
judged
they are defamed
and shamed,
by those
like you're
who
trying to shame me this morning.
They are afraid to come forward, as you said, because they are defamed by those who commit the rape. That's what Donald
And
Trump
they're
has been found
judged.
guilty of doing.
He defended
No,
himself
wrong.
over that and denies that it ever happened, but he was not found guilty in a criminal court of law.
He was not found guilty, and he was not found liable of the R at all. And the case was a joke, okay? We all know this. E. Jean Carroll was involved with Roberta Kaplan, by their own admission, in getting the law changed so that they could file this civil claim, reopen up some claim from 20, 30 years ago that they didn't even know the date of for a very long time. They didn't even know the year of and for a very long time until they made it up. And E. Jean Carroll is clearly unwell. The two people that she called, supposedly, after it happened, hardly believed her. A ton of evidence was not even admitted because the judge precluded it. It was a sham trial. We all watched it. And it was a civil claim that was not criminal at all. And they opened up the law literally to go after Trump. The person who sued and made the victory helped to create the law. And it was all set up by George Conway, Molly Jongfest, who met E. Jean Carroll at one of their anti-Trump parties and connected them so that they could file this claim. Okay, it's a political hit. It's a legal hit. They're just identifying all the different attack angles and launching them. So it was disgusting. George Stephanopoulos is a disgusting person, has been disgusting for a long time, why he's on ABC. So what is the response? Trump filed a lawsuit, and we're going to see inside the lawsuit that they have a copy of the jury verdict form that shows that George Stephanopoulos is a big fat liar. You see this one. Got filed in a nice jurisdiction, Southern District of Florida, 20 pages. It's Trump versus ABC and George Stephanopoulos, liar. Says here, Trump and his counsel now on offense suing ABC and George, saying, all right, here, George, this is an action arising from George's transmission and publication of intentionally false and defamatory statements made to numerous third parties about the president. And specifically, as we're going to get into, on Sunday, March 10th, George, during the airing of his weekly television show, This Week with George Stephanopoulos, apparently people watch it, falsely stated on several occasions that Trump had been found liable by multiple juries for the R of Miss Carroll, for doing the Bergdorf, all right, for Bergdorfing Miss Carroll. Not true. These statements were and remain false. And they were made by George with actual malice and with a reckless disregard for the truth, given that George knows that these statements are patently and demonstrably false. And indeed, the jury expressly found that Trump did not commit the R, as demonstrated below. We'll show you. And Stephanopoulos was aware of their finding, but he still falsely stated otherwise. Now, George made these statements, which were communicated and published within the scope of his employment, and that's why we're bringing in ABC. They were aware of the truth about the determinations that were made, and they still made these. And there were written notes that he was reading from. So it appears that they were preparing him, and his producer and his show host and everybody gave George the stupid script and said, here, read this. Now, ABC also published this, and so Trump is suffering harm as a result. Therefore, you're being sued. Here's what Trump says. Trump's a private citizen. For now. Get ready, George. Living in Florida, ABC hosts this show, George Stephanopoulos, and they had an interview that we just listened to. Now, ABC News made knowing and reckless false statements, and George Stephanopoulos is a natural person, and you have jurisdiction over him. Now, the reason we're in this federal court is because we have diversity jurisdiction and the amount in controversy. Parties are diverse, the amount in controversy, so some civil procedure. We're in the right court. Now, here is where we get to the good stuff, the statement of the facts. This is what Trump is suing for. The E. Jean Carroll litigation matters. Let's get to it. They say, on or about November 4th, E. Jean Carroll filed a single count complaint against Trump. We removed that case to federal court and had a trial. She claimed that she got Bergdorfed at Bergdorfed, a luxury department store on Fifth Avenue in New York. Trump has consistently and steadfastly denied Carroll's false and fabricated and defamatory allegations. But she alleged, and while she does not remember the date, the month, or the year, or the exact decade, and she was all over the place on that. We definitely didn't have an exact date or month. I think we got a year the second trial. They're like, I think we got a year. And we didn't have, we don't have transcripts or video, so I'm pretty sure we got a year the second trial. But she has no idea. All right. And just think about that. You got charged with the crime. Oh, when did it happen? So I can show you my calendar to show you that I wasn't there or I was over here. No date. You don't even have a date to defend yourself. And this is a civil case. It's not a criminal case, but they all claim that he R'd somebody, right? And New York created and opened up the statute to allow this whole thing to come forward. Now, she claims she was walking out of Bergdorf's. She bumped into Trump and he said, why don't you help me buy a present for a woman? And she agreed. Now, Carroll goes on to tell some story of an incident that allegedly occurred on the evening. It began as, quote, playful banter, and then it turned into an attack that lasted only a few minutes. Now, in or around 2019, more than 2 decades after the alleged incident occurred, Carroll released a book in or around 2019. All these years go by. Trump's running for office, 2020. Oh no, we need a new assault attack. Poof! Here she has it. In response, Trump denied that the incident occurred in 3 statements released June 21, 22, and 24, which formed the premise of her defamation claim. So then she filed a separate lawsuit, which related to the original lawsuit, where she said she brought claims for defamation and battery. Now, the claims in Carroll 2 stem from the same incident, allegedly taking place at Bergdorf's, but she brought an additional claim for battery, right? Physical touching. In her battery claim, she said that Trump and his actions constituted offenses that include but are not limited to the R in the first degree, R in the third degree, abuse in the first degree, and abuse in the third degree, forcible touching, and misconduct. Now, additionally, the defamations claims that were also filed against Trump, those were challenging the statements that he made on October 12th and June. Dates don't really matter. So the court held a jury trial, and we covered as much as we could on that one. On May 9th, the jury issued its verdict. We have the form down there below. Now, the verdict form is clear. As for the first count for battery, the jury was expressly asked to render a determination. Did Trump did he Bergdorf E. Jean Carroll? The verdict form is clear. The jury determined that Carroll failed to prove her allegation, and they found Trump is not liable as to that allegation. And it's good to see Trump finally taking this out on the offense, saying this exactly. We've made this point, I can't count how many times. Did Ms. Carroll prove by a preponderance of the evidence, which is the lowest standard that exists in the law? We've talked a lot about this in the other Trump cases, but beyond a reasonable doubt is the high standard. It's up here. We put it at the very top. Then we have another standard that we often talk about. It's called clear and convincing evidence. The lowest standard is called preponderance of the evidence. It's like 51% likely or not. Is it more likely than not that this thing happened? Yes or no? Jury said no. No, not likely. Didn't happen. We don't believe her. She loses a 51% standard. This is the traffic ticket standard, okay, for most states, unless your state has a criminal standard for traffic tickets. It's low, okay? The jury said, no, we don't believe you. We think you're a liar. She took the stand and said, I got Bergdorfed. And they said, no, you did not. No, you didn't. And then they gave her, the gimme on the next one because Trump says that, the locker room talk, grab him by the purse. Got it. So they just gave her the other, they gave her the other one because they hate Trump. But that distinction alone makes me think that they think that that Carroll is not credible. How could they split it? So George, and by all these people repeating this, right, the jury actually found that they did not. Now, the judge came back later and the judge wrote an opinion. He said, well, technically digital penetration is kind of an R, and so you can say R. But no jury found that at all, right? They actually found no. Sorry, E. Jean Carroll's a liar, not credible. The jury made a finding of assault, the next one down, and as a result, they found for Carroll on battery and defamation. Now, that verdict is currently subject to appeal. Trump's appealing that, currently in the Second Circuit. Now, shortly after the Carroll 2 verdict, she amended count 1 in Carroll 1. Now, in the amended complaint, Carroll replaced all of the R words in the initial complaint with assault, okay? Because the jury did not make the finding of R. So even E. Jean Carroll's lawyers herself, they know themselves that they have to amend the old complaint. So then a jury trial took place again. And on January 26, we covered this one, the jury issued its verdict in a single count complaint, finding in favor of Carroll again. And we're appealing that one too. But let's be clear. The jury undeniably did not find Trump liable for R, given the limited nature of that claim. Neither jury in any of these cases ever found Trump liable for R. Never happened. But what happened at ABC? They didn't get the memo, apparently. On March 10, 2024, at approximately 8:15, George Stephanopoulos conducted a live interview with Nancy Mace. Now, during his terrible show, lasting 10 minutes, Stephanopoulos opened the segment by playing a video of a speech given by Mace in South Carolina. She, at the time at the legislature, she revealed she was a victim of the R. Now, immediately after playing the speech, then Stephanopoulos questioned, how could you endorse someone that's been found liable for R? Wrong, found not liable. Now, given that this was the first question of the interview, combined with the intensity and the persistence of the questioning engaged in by Stephanopoulos of an actual victim, it was clear that he maliciously intended to convince his viewers of a falsity, that Trump had been found liable for the R. And during the interview, Mace vehemently objected to the tactics being employed by him because they were beyond the pale and they were patently offensive, but he didn't care. Throughout the interview, Stephanopoulos wrongfully asserted more than 10 times that Trump was found liable for R. Here's what he said. You endorsed Trump for president, and 2 separate juries have found him liable for R. Wrong, wrong. That's a nope, sorry. That did not happen. Nope. Donald Trump has been found liable for R by a jury. Really? Where? Trump has been found liable for defaming a victim of that R by a jury. That's true. But there was no R, right? Liable of an assault by a jury, also defamatory. It's been affirmed by a judge. Now, the judge twisted the jury phrase. The judge said, well, the jury found that there was an assault, and a digital assault with your finger in a purse is, that's kind of like an R. So that's not good. Now, the judge found that, right? But not the jury. Says, here's George Stephanopoulos again. I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for R. It was a civil court that found him liable for R. I'm questioning your political choices because you're supporting someone who's been found liable for R. Why are you supporting someone who's been found liable for R? Look at all these comments from him. I'm not going to read them all. You get it. You don't find it offensive that Trump's been found liable for R? You're defending a man who's been found liable for R, even though he's been found liable for R, okay, like 10 times. So given the actual language and the findings of the jury verdicts rendered in Carroll, George's numerous statements that he has been found liable for R, those were false and defamatory. And these statements were heard by millions of viewers throughout television and the internet. Stephanopoulos was clearly aware of the jury's verdicts, and he knew that Trump had not been found liable for the R. And just 5 weeks ago, on February 4th, during the airing of his show, he stated in another show, most recently, this E. Jean Carroll case where juries have found him liable for assault and defamation. These were juries that found him liable for assault and defamation. Okay, so his little show also reported on it accurately. So they knew. Moreover, on a Good Morning America segment, he also was interviewed. The banner read, Trump found liable for abuse and defamation. They posted a clip of E. Jean Carroll, and they said Trump found liable for battery and defamation. No R in there at all. And of particular note, Stephanopoulos specifically asked E. Jean Carroll during another episode, how about yesterday in the courtroom, E. Jean? Let's talk. The first announcement was made, and it was that he was not found liable for R. Trump asked E. Jean about this. Wow. What were you thinking at that moment, E. Jean, when they thought you were a liar? Because you are, in my humble opinion. And that's what the evidence shows. Now, given Stephanopoulos' knowledge of the actual verdicts, including asking E. Jean how it felt to be called a liar by the jury, and given his vast experience as a journalist hack, his repeated statements that Trump was found liable for R was false. They were intentional, they were malicious, and they were designed to cause harm. George knew this. He knew they were false, but he made them in any event. And after the interview aired, Trump's representatives contacted Stephanopoulos, seeking a retraction and an apology. But they did not issue an apology, of course. They did not issue a retraction. And they did not direct or request Stephanopoulos to correct the various defamatory or false statements he made during his show. Instead of removing the interview, ABC modified the headline. They changed the headline of a related article. It says, Nancy Mace defends her support for Trump after he was found liable for R. Oops. Ooh, that correction's not good. Mace, they changed it to found liable for R to found liable for the assault. They changed the whole headline. Oops, you knew it was bad. The article itself, however, continues to reference the false statement. And accordingly, any action that ABC did take to correct or address these statements, it didn't. It instead republished the defamatory statements and exacerbated the injury. And so since making these false statements, many news outlets have quoted Stephanopoulos by wrongfully broadcasting that Trump was found liable for R. For example, following the interview, Aaron Rupar, who takes everything out of context, is known for his presence on X, who maintains a website called Public Notice, where he covers politics in the media. He publicly defended Stephanopoulos and praised him for holding his ground. Yeah, he loves when you attack rape victims. Says, wow, Nancy gets mad when Stephanopoulos asks her how she can support Trump's claim despite claiming to care about victims. But Stephanopoulos holds his ground. Yay! 7.6 million views on that one. Rupar, along with many others, their endorsement of Stephanopoulos' false and defamatory statements propagated the misinformation. It's a lot of damages. The above referenced post depicts the first of a total of 5 posts contained in Rupar's thread The first post was viewed more than 7.6 million times, reposted 5,400 times. Significant reach of that false and defamatory statement. And additionally, the thread contains more info. One of those posts was upwards of 1,100 times. So that was like a second, part 2 from Stephanopoulos and Rupar. Another post was reposted 1,400 times. And Stephanopoulos is literally defaming Trump in that clip. Well, actually, what you're doing is defending a man who's been found liable for R. I don't understand how you can do that. Another post reposted 1,300 times. A fifth post, he said the same thing. He was found liable for R. Now, importantly, Rupar's decision to selectively repost quotes made by Stephanopoulos, explicitly, he targeted the found liable for R clip, right? So George is giving all of the lefty cover. Now, Mediaite News also published an article saying fireworks. Stephanopoulos battles Mace in explosive showdown about her backing Trump, despite jury finding he's liable for the R. They never did. Never found him for that. Relying on the exchange, Mediaite News incorrectly again published the same thing. Liable for R. Daily Beast did the same thing. They relied on Stephanopoulos and his defamatory statements. He said found liable for R. Verdict says not. Morning Joe. Joe Brzezinski, married to Mika. MSNBC covered this also. So Stephanopoulos gave them, right, the fake talking point that they could all repost. Daily Kos did the same thing. Shannon Watts, a political activist, founder of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, says we have a rapist for a president. Now, the above referenced articles are only a fraction of the media posts. Stephanopoulos and George, their false and defamatory statements spread around like wildfire. Everybody reposted them. And so this have resulted in damages, a lot of them. And all conditions have contributed to that. And so that's why we're bringing a claim here. Count 1, defamation per se. The statements made by George, they were made with actual malice. They did not have any regard for the truth. They knew the statements were false. They published them anyways. There was no factual basis for it. Now, any of these are per se defamation, right? If you accuse someone of having like a bad disease or, about their sexual proclivities and stuff like that, it can be very, very damaging. And so there's different standards. We call it defamation per se. Now, as a result of this, Trump has been damaged. And so now they want an award, including a penalty with punitive damages out of George's booty. Now, they say here's another count for defamation. These counts were made, or these statements were made with the intention of lowering Trump's professional reputation in the community. They were like a heat-seeking missile trying to harm Trump. So these were intentional acts. They were done with actual malice. They had a video clip. They had producers. They had George with his note cards and everything. And so they now seek an award for punitive damages from ABC News and George Stephanopoulos. This comes from an attorney in Coral Gables, Florida. Shout out to Alejandro Brito from Brito Law Firm out there in Florida. They're asking for a jury trial, and I hope they get it, because this hoax has been allowed to spread for a long time. Now, what George Stephanopoulos is going to say, I can already see his response. He's going to return with the judge's order. The judge's order says, well, it is kind of R, because even though the jury didn't find it, it still is kind of R. And so he transmogrified the assault charge, which was clearly not R, into R so that they could say it. And that's not what the jury found at all. And George Stephanopoulos said the jury found that. So I think that they will have a plausible, deniability claim. They'll try to latch onto the judge's response and say that is cover. But I hope this goes to a jury, and a jury can decide whether this was appropriate or not. And they'll be in Florida, not in New York. And so we're going to be here continuing to cover this one, Southern District of Florida, little different environment down there. Maybe they'll have something to say about ABC and George Stephanopoulos. And so we'll continue to cover this one, my friends, when it drops and when the responses come in. We'll see what Trump's team says. Trump sues ABC. They're spreading the R-Hoax, and it's time they get called out, and we're glad that they did. So thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. Thanks for following us as we cover all of this litigation and more. Would love it if you checked out some of the links in the description below. We have our members only community at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, where we do streams in the morning. We do streams on Saturday. We do after parties after our live stream. We would love to have you come and join us. Links are in the description below. We'll look forward to seeing you over there and back here on the next one. All right, my friends, and we got one final segment on the day before we see what you have to say about all of this. And we're going down to Florida. It's a short segment, but a fun one, because this is not looking good for Jack Smith. Judge Cannon stuns Jack Smith. She issued a new order that says, you guys got to get together, both the prosecution and the defense, and come up with some jury instructions that we can use when this case goes to trial. The problem for Jack is that the jury instructions show how weak and pathetic his case is. And if the jurors read it, they're going to know that this case probably shouldn't have been brought and that Trump is in fact not guilty of any of the alleged crimes. And so the left is very unhappy about this order. We've got Weissman, we've got Conway and others very upset. They say, how dare she do this? She should recuse herself. She should be removed from this case, or there should be a mandamus from the Court of Appeals to force her to do stuff. Of course, they have a different opinion about Judge Chutkan, when she, in my opinion, wrecks the Constitution with every one of her orders. So it's just them forum shopping. They don't like that not every single judge is in their back pocket. And so let's take a look at this very beautiful order that dropped from Judge Cannon. Short filing, 2-pager, but a big one. March 18th, out of the West Palm Beach Division, Southern District of Florida, Jack Smith versus Trump and the co-defendants. Judge Cannon writes this. All right, everybody, you, Jack Smith, and Donald Trump, the defense, everybody must follow this order. It says, all right, everybody. On or before April 2nd, coming up soon, Trump and Jack Smith each shall file proposed jury instructions limited to the essential elements of the offenses charged in counts 1 through 32 of the indictment, right? So whoever gets to decide the rules typically wins the game, right? We all understand this. If you get to make up the rules of the game, you can win. Unless you're, an ultra fair person and you try to be fair. But if you ultimately make them up, you can win. So there's a big battle over what happens with jury instructions. And Cannon wants both sides to brief it. Now, only the first 32 counts, which are the counts involving all of the documents. Each separate piece of paper that was classified, they charged as a crime. So I want to know what we're going to tell the jurors about those documents. And I also want a proposed verdict form for those counts. So I need to know what they're checking off or not. Now, she also gives us a footnote. Instructions beyond the substantive contours of the counts, not part of this order, but defenses that are intertwined with the statutory definitions are so contained. The standard 20-page limit for memoranda of law does not apply to the ordered submissions. She says, so moreover, now understanding that juries are judges of the facts, not of the law, the proposal shall take care to specify, in incorporated briefing as necessary, exactly what factual questions are reserved for the jury on counts 1 through 32 in light of the recently argued motions to dismiss. And we had several motions that we talked about here. Selective and vindictive prosecution, which was argued but not filed. Publicly, it was filed, but we didn't see it or read it. But we also had the idea that the charges were void for vagueness because nobody knows what they mean as applied to the presidency. And we also had the motion to dismiss. There was another one based on the Presidential Records Act. And that one has not been ruled upon yet. Void for vagueness was already denied. So with respect to the proposed language pertinent to the unauthorized possession, specifically the parties must engage with the following competing scenarios and offer alternative draft text that assumes each scenario to be a correct formulation of the law to be issued to the jury while reserving counter arguments. Okay, so this is big. These are the rules of the game. And you guys read these and let me know what you think. But be prepared to talk about these scenarios in the formulation of these instructions. So here's the first one. Now imagine if you're Team Trump and you're saying, I want these rules to benefit our client, our president. Let's see how this sounds. In a prosecution of a former president for allegedly retaining documents in violation of the law, a jury is permitted to examine a record retained by a former president in his or her possession at the end of her presidency and make a factual finding as to whether the government has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that it is a personal or presidential document using the definitions set forth in the Presidential Records Act. Now, you can also include separation of powers or immunity concerns if relevant, right? So the jurors are reading these instructions and they're saying, okay, all right. Then a president, they say, okay, according to the definitions set forth in the Presidential Records Act, right? Okay, well, what does the Presidential Records Act say about this stuff? How about this? A president has sole authority under the Presidential Records Act to categorize records as personal or presidential during his or her presidency. Whoa. Yeah, that's like kind of the game, right? Because they're saying, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Deborah does from the National Archives. Sorry, right? The DOJ does. They get to classify this stuff. No. And she's just following prior precedent from the Obama-appointed judge, Amy Jackson, I believe. Amy Berman Jackson. Or was it Amy Totenberg? One of the two judges, right, said that Bill Clinton is the sole authority to decide whether you can access his sock drawer or not. So if that is the jury instruction, that's like the game. Now, neither a court, right, she goes on, neither a court nor a jury is permitted to make or to review such a categorization decision. Whoa. That's the rule. The jury's, okay. Now, although there is no formal means in the PRA by which a president is to make that categorization, an outgoing president's decision to exclude what he or she considers to be personal records from the presidential records that are transmitted back into the archives constitutes a president's categorization of those records as personal under the PRA. Woo! Okay, so this means that Trump taking the boxes out of the White House and not giving certain documents back over to the National Archives is his categorization. He didn't have to fill out a stupid form for Deb. He didn't have to go through some formal declassification or get permission from his chief of staff or see what the DOJ had to say. No, you take the boxes, they're yours. You're the president. If you have to fill out a form to get permission from someone else, they have more power than you do. That's just how it works. It's been obvious from day one. And Judge Cannon is getting that, right? Yeah. And the Bill Clinton case, which we've covered here, which I think was Judge Amy Totenberg. Because no, it wasn't. It was Amy Jackson, Amy Berman Jackson. Totenberg is the Georgia case. So Totenberg, it's Amy Berman Jackson who said that Bill Clinton was the sole arbiter, okay? So they're just following Amy Berman Jackson's precedent. Literally, this is what the judge is doing. It's already been decided. She decided this in the Judicial Watch versus NARA case. So that's huge. Like, that's huge. And Trump is going to make that claim about every single document. Now, there might be one document, which is the nuclear code document, which may not be an executive branch agency. So maybe he doesn't have a claim to that one. But for the rest of the counts, that is a rock solid jury instruction. Okay, so you can see why they are so freaked out about it. The president has the sole authority, and no one gets to question the president. You guys don't even get to decide, like jurors. You don't even get to decide, right? No formal means by which he has to comply, and it cannot be questioned. So that's kind of the game, right? It's huge. That's huge. So they're obviously freaked out big time about this. Absolutely raging. So here is what Weissman posted on X. He said, "This is the kind of legal inanity that could lead Jack Smith to seek a mandamus, to get the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals to hear this and reverse her again, which could also be the proverbial 3 strikes and you're out." So they're trying to get rid of Cannon. Other people very upset about this. Here is what Bradley Moss said. He said, the second scenario is legally insane. If that were the case, then just grant Trump's motion to dismiss on the PRA grounds so the DOJ can bring it up to the 11th Circuit for a reversal, right? Just saying, let's go already. Let's go. They're not happy. And Conway said, "Okay, I've seen enough. Not only should Cannon not be sitting on this case, she should not be sitting on the federal bench at all. This is utterly nuts." And I don't think so at all. I think it's actually how it works. Do you know how we know that's how it works? Because Clinton didn't get prosecuted. Neither has any other president for taking any other documents before. It's all just now changed because of Trump. And she is just creating that precedent. So this is Weissman. Now he was over on with MSNBC. They were melting down over this ruling. And here is what Weissman says in response to this decision.
Andrew Weissman, I have never seen a draft jury instruction quite like it. What are Jack Smith's options here?
Well, there's a reason you've never seen anything like it. I don't think Bradley and I have either. Last week, Bradley was trying to come up with the best Yiddish phrase for this. And I have sort of two M words for you. Meshugana, which is what this is, because the choice that was given by Judge Cannon to the parties is to ask Jack Smith, so please draft a jury instruction assuming that the earth is flat. Mm-hmm. And the second one is please draft a jury instruction assuming that the earth is square. And so the second M word is mandamus. Mandamus is the ability to, it's not an appeal, it's for extraordinary actions by a district court that so clearly violate the law that you can appeal it right then and there. It's a very tough standard.
Yeah.
But at this point, what she did today is so nutty.
No, it's not.
So against a point that Bradley's been making, which is that the 11th Circuit has actually already decided this issue, and what she has proposed is against what the 11th Circuit has already reversed her on. I really think, to the extent that you think that she is engaging in partisanship, which I do, there really has to be a time that you take her up on and you do this mandamus to get to the 11th Circuit before she gets to trial, because that's when she has the unilateral ability to throw this case out, and it cannot be appealed.
All right, let's see. So they're very upset about it, and I think it makes total sense, right? It's the Bill Clinton precedent. If Bill Clinton is the sole arbiter of the document categorization, so is Trump. She's following his precedent. It's the only other situation even remotely resembling this. They always say that, this is unusual and this is so strange and we've never seen anything quite like this. Yeah, you're right. We've never prosecuted a president before. You're right. Congratulations. Your side did that. We've never done this before in 234 years until you guys broke glass. So that's why it's different. Don't act like this is some new thing because this is regular criminal procedure or something like that. Like this is out of the ordinary. Like if Judge Cannon did something like this in a regular DUI case, you'd be like, okay, that's a little bit strange. Like where'd that come from, right? Where would something unusual come about? This whole thing is unusual. And Cannon is returning it to normalcy by referring back and following the same precedent that the Weissman guys and Team Lefties decided when they were protecting Bill Clinton. You don't get to protect Bill and then suddenly say all of those rules don't apply to Trump. Can't have it that way. So it makes total sense from our perspective, but they're not happy about it. Judge Cannon demanding orders and ordering responses. We're going to see what they look like, and we'll be covering them when they drop here, my friends. And so thank you for subscribing to our channel. Thanks for joining us and inviting someone you know or love to come and join us when we go live here on the show. It's a great way to help other people see what's happening in all these cases, and we'd love to see you and them, of course, back here. We also have some great links down in the description below. RobertGouveia.com is where you can sign up for our newsletter, access all the PDFs we cover here, and watchingthewatchers.locals.com is our members-only community. So if you want some extra content in the mornings and some Saturday streams, come join us over there. We'd love to see you there and back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. We covered some good ground. Judge Cannon leaves Jack Smith stunned. Trump sues ABC and lying George Stephanopoulos, and Letitia James, the shoeless prosecutor there in New York, is now busted for fraud in her own fraud scandal as Trump appeals that order as well. And so, my friends, now it's time to hear from you and see what you have to say about all of this. Thank you for your very generous support. I see these super chats and donos coming in, and I'm grateful for you and your support. And let's see who is joining us. Today, we are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our after party as soon as the show is over. And we'd love to see you. Come and join us. And hey, Vientikis is here. Hey, Vientikis. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Vientikis has his newest book out. Some time ago, we did a brief reading of the intro to book 1 of Vientikis's work. And now he's got book 4 that is out. I don't know how he writes them so quickly, but they are available at Barnes and Nobles now. And so let's see what the link looks like. Here it is. And is this opening up over here? It is. Okay, so congratulations to Vientikis. He's got book 4 is now out and published, and it's online at Barnes and Nobles. So go check it out. Book 4, Rise, is out. Amazing. I don't know how he writes them so fast. So Identity, Legacy, Clemency, and Rise. Congratulations, Vientikis Prime, my friends. If you're just dying to see what happens next, you got to go pick it up. Barnes and Nobles has it. And V is only keeping those up for a limited time. He's going to unpublish them at some point. And so that's the link. Hopefully V's dropping it in the chat. Congratulations, V. Another book published. Amazing job. He says, so we got this case in SCOTUS, and all these people who claim to not understand what free speech means in the First Amendment are either purposely obtuse or just being lazy. You know, it's pretty clear all things in the First Amendment have to do with 7 words. That which you believe to be true. It protects saying that what you believe to be true, practicing what you believe to be true, repeating what you believed someone else stated, and addressing what you believe to be a harm. It is the core of any person. It is not how you see the worth, whether it be through solipsism or not. All these people who are talking about limiting speech or trying to force context external to the Constitution for the United States into it, their whole argument is a promotion of solipsism. Because I see a nickel by looking at only one side, someone who looked at both sides and saw it's a trick coin shouldn't be allowed to speak. Good to see you, V, and thanks for the nice comment. Knox says, hey everyone, still working the zone difference. Oh, Biden walked off the stage in Arizona? Great. That sounds about right. Biden's in Arizona today. I knew this. I knew everything felt off this morning. Becky F. What's up, Becky? Thanks for being a supporter and for becoming a membo over on the YouTubes. John McGarvey's bringing in 10 membos. Thank you, John. Look at this. John McGarvey brings in Wild Horses, Janet L., Mrs. Smoot's coming in, Jay Jarvis, Melissa R., Newt Gadget, Awakening Wonder, Baby Cakes, Gypsy, and Marine for Life in the house, courtesy of John McGarvey. John, thanks for bringing in the 10 newest membos. Karina brings in 5 more. We got David M., Mimi in Pink, Julie J., Rial, and Laura, all also coming in, courtesy of Karina B. Thank you, Karina. And Karina, thanks for being a membo as well, and bringing in 5 new membos. Michael Allen Hughes, we got a 1-year anniversary from Michael A. Says Civil War will be in theaters this summer. What theater? Hey, it's the Munkets is bringing in 5 new membos. Bringing in Mr. Trump Train. Jackie Kennedy's here. Maria K, Heather WF, and AB all brought in courtesy of Tony Hay. Hey, it's the Munkets. We got Charles J says Trump sues Stephanopoulos for $150 million, pays the $85 million to Carroll, banks a $65 million profit. Boom. Nothing but net. Love it, Charles. That would be just outstanding, right? Go after ABC and parlay his defamation loss into a defamation win. I love it. Brilliant. Could you imagine? That'd be just great. Maybe he gets a cool billion out of it, and he can also pay off the Tish stuff. Glocky's here. Says, good thing the New York AG spent millions finding Trump guilty of a crime with no victims. I'd feel so safe in New York now. Says that as suspects in the Long Island body parts case remains free, critics urge bail reform laws. Yeah. So apparently, people's limbs are just floating around New York. No one cares. No idea what's going on there. We got this one from Michael A. Says, truly the lunatics are running the asylum. They are. There's a lot going on. We got a bunch of insane people running things. Chubby's here. Says, far past time for Letitia James to be disbarred. Wishful thinking, I know. But I do hit my 50th this year. Ooh, that's a big one. So maybe it'll be the wish I make before the candles burn down the place. Chubby, good to see you, man. Happy 50th coming up. That's a big one. Yeah, that's a good one. And the candles are crazy. It's a fun one. AO, what's up? Says Yacht Fuel Fund. Thank you for that, AO. Yeah, we're going to need a watcher yacht. That sounds like a good plan. And it will go directly into that budget. Glocky says, I'm sure this is a crime, especially in a state like New York. Internal documents confirmed that Tish knew about an AIDS sexual harassment scandal well before her election. And probably just enabled it, didn't she? Hey, it's the Munkets is back. Says, bringing in Amanda S, Ohio L, Numi Q, James H, and Alyssa R, all in the house, coming in courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets, bringing in a lot of membos today. Thank you, Tony Hay. Dear Emily says, hey, Rob, love the show. Thank you, Emily. Says, I tune in daily. Question for you. Do you plan on covering any of the Mike Lindell filings? Can you please? I've had several requests for it, and I thought I was waiting for that, I think, on Friday. I was waiting for something to drop, but did it drop? Wasn't he filing something at SCOTUS? I'll take a look at it. We may cover it. Maybe you're a membo, so maybe we'll do it in the mornings one day. We'll see. I haven't seen it yet, so it's hard for me to say, but I've had several requests for it, dear Emily, so I will do my best. We got NY says, AG James also had campaign irregularities based on ex-user Mel's analysis of her campaign fund filings. Yeah, Mel did a great job on that, and she's done some others. And they all have these bot funds, right? These bots are just dropping money in at like, $5 a clip, $6 a clip, $2 a clip, and so on. Maybe there's more there. William L., a membo for 6 months, says, thank you all the very kind membos that gift membos. Thank you to William L. for being a membo. Some guy with cancer says, Michael Steele's the former head of the RNC. That explains everything wrong with that party. More from Tony Hay. Anonymous is coming in. We got Matt G, Martini Man, Another S, Linda Y, all gifted membos courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Thank you, Tony. Costa Rica expat over on Rumble says, I would think that Trump would have buildings in a living trust. I don't know what he has set up, but Tish is going to do what she can to reclaim them. Whatever they're in, she's going to try to attack that. I'm sure it's a tall order to go take a building. I'm sure the legal process of that is not easy. Hey, Pinochet says, actually, communists do serve a purpose. They're easy to oppose. Chubby says, if James does seize Trump's properties, she should be forced to resell them at her absurdly undervalued claims. Yeah, that'd be funny, right? Like she seizes Mar-a-Lago, turns around and sells it for $1 billion. You're like, oh, that's curious. Yeah, thought you said it wasn't that. More from Tony Hay. Oh my goodness. Bringing in Luke, Richard G, Christy L, Matt G, and Melinda Gates. She got divorced from Bill, so she's welcome here. Come on in, Melinda. Thank you, Tony Hay. And also brought in Bird Law. More from Tony. Catherine, David H, Exa, and Sassy Gal Beauty all got gifts courtesy of Tony Hay Muckets. Tony, very generous today. Thank you very much for that one. This one from Grifter Wannabe says, per listening to Robert Barnes, the red tape needed to take possession of buildings is lengthy when Trump can appeal all the way up. Trump's foreign cash accounts are seizable since they have nexus in New York. See, that's probably the bigger concern. Like, I wouldn't want them to come take a bank account. I'd rather them take the building and not the bank account. Here's one from this one. We got a nice comment from Crash. Crash sent this one in, and let me see what I can do about this image. Crash sent this one in. An ode to Amelia. Says, thank you, Crash. Says, ode to Amelia. We have a newborn in the house, a real one. Says, Grandpa sheds no tears of sorrow or loss, but only tears of exquisite joy at life's new beginning. Seed sown under summer's warm bathing sun lays dormant yet grows unseen and burst forth at spring's first herald. Says, Amelia, sweet, sweet Millie, arrived 10/04/3/2024 at 5 pounds, 18 ounces, 14 ounces, and 18 inches. There is mama and baby safe and sound. Welcome aboard, little Amelia. And congratulations to Mama Amelia and family and the Crash family. Congratulations on the newest edition and welcome aboard, Lil Sweet Amelia, arriving safe and sound in Mama's arms. Looks beautiful, and congratulations to Mama and daughter. Looks like it is going to be a very, very happy family. And thanks for sharing that with us there, Crashed. I'm glad that it looks like a very successful welcome and a lot of just good energy out there. I got to imagine a little newborn and a beautiful mama and baby. Thanks for sharing that, Crash. Mark C says, I have a wonderful voice and it won't be talked over. And they call Trump a narcissist. I know. Do you hear her? I love hearing myself talk. I listen to myself all the time. And thank you for that from Mark. NY says, Democrats are willing to nuke New York State to take out Trump. Let it be known how crazy the left is. Divest of the New York City and the state now. Adriano Valentino from Australia says, what morons on the left interrupting Kevin O'Leary then saying, the laws exist to protect the working place. LOL, get out of here. Trump 2024. Let's go, Brandon, from Adriano V from Australia, I believe. Thank you, Adriano. Yeah, they really enjoy themselves. We got Kaiser of Third Age says, when O'Leary says that it's not a good idea, I tend to believe him, especially in finance. Otherwise, good show, Rob. Good day, watcher. Otherwise, good show, Rob. Yeah, otherwise, yeah. Well, thank you for that, Kaiser of Third Age. Thanks for being a membo, and thanks for the dono. It is a great day. Molly Dolly says, do you think Judge Engoron, a.k.a. Areola, a.k.a. the Nip, punished Trump with such a huge amount because of the illegals problem in New York? Like he's laughing at Trump being forced to support it? I don't know. Probably vindictive, certainly. I don't know that it's, necessarily like he's going to take Trump's money and just, maybe he'll take a building and just put all the illegals in there. That would solve their problem. Tish could say, we have a new hotel here, just have this whole building. And they'll see what New Yorkers think of that, right? So I don't know that it was necessary. I'm sure Engoron is getting a lot of satisfaction out of it, but don't know that it was specifically for the illegals. Hey, Glocky says, Mike Tyson had dinner with Trump. Good. That sounds good. That sounds fun. That sounds like a great dinner. Love to be a guest at that table. Knox is here sharing this one. Megyn Kelly. This is a link to a Real Clear Politics article. It says, Megyn Kelly reports that Stephanopoulos smeared Bill Clinton's assault accusers. So he's just got a history of this, huh? Stephanopoulos in Carville came up with this one. Drag a $100 bill through a trailer park. You never know what you'll find. James Carville. That's right. They had to destroy all the women. Remember that? That's right. That's a great point, Knox. They had to destroy all of Clinton's women. Yeah, slimy dudes. Guess is here. Says, God placed Trump here. I pray for him and his family several times daily. If you feel moved to, set your alarms for East Coast times 0529 and 1729 and join me daily praying for healing. What a great idea. 5:29 Eastern time, 7:29 Eastern time from Guess. If you want to sync your prayers, I think there's something to that, Guess. Thanks for the great suggestion. Hey, David Bybee, welcome aboard, David. Thanks for joining us on the YouTubes. This old guy says, I already left my comment. We'll see what that one says, this old guy. Thank you for the dono. Doxson says, I had to come over to locals because YouTube has shown me Biden's election ad going on about Trump being out for revenge, blah, 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 3 times during the stream. Maybe I should sue YouTube for digital assault to my ears. So that's interesting. So Biden is advertising on our stream, which means the Biden campaign is paying us. It's great. I like that. That's good news. Shout out. I appreciate that. Keep donating to Joe Biden. We got not you here, his dumb voters. Object Class Keeter. Like, why are they advertising on our show? No one's changing their mind here. I hope, hopefully not. The show is dedicated to doing the opposite. It's kind of, there's probably, anyways, I'm happy about it. That's great. Sorry you're getting the advertisements, but it's good that they're wasting their campaign dollars on our show. I'm happy about that. We got Object Class Keeter says, Trump has been on the defensive for the past year. Now it's time for the counterattack. These libs are so full of themselves and are never wrong. That's so true. You're right. They're wrong regularly, but they never admit it, and that's part of their arrogance that's going to lead to their downfall. We got Guest says, I read a rumor that Tish James will undervalue Trump's properties so that she can take them all to cover the judgment, including taking Mar-a-Lago. We'll see what she does. That's a lot of property to take. And I don't know what Trump Tower's worth, but it's a lot. They're sick people. I wouldn't put it past them, Guess. They take away property rights. They take away, every right that they can get their hands on. We've seen them try to take away over these last 3 years. This old guy says, my advice to Trump is nolo illegitimus carborundum. Don't let those punks wear you down. Nolo illegitimus carborundum. I like that. Christy D on Rumble says, Utah here. Love your show. Good to see you. Shout out to our friends in Utah, just a stone's throw away from us in Arizona. Love your show. Says, old Stinky Feet McGee needs to be knocked down a few pegs. Can't even stand to look at her. Trump 2024. Or listen. She's really painful to listen to because she talks like she is like on a 1-900 number. Remember those used to exist before OnlyFans? Those 1-900 numbers? Not that I ever called one, but they were like on the TV shows. Like there was that Seinfeld where Kramer would call them and like she had that voice. She's trying to talk to you like she's trying to seduce you or something, but she's just disgusting. So I don't know if that works. Cowboy Rob says, after all is said and done, do you think Trump could sue Tish for defamation among other charges? I mean, probably not, probably not. That's the unfortunate problem with our government is that our government officials get elected to positions of power and then they pass laws for themselves that immunize them, things like qualified immunity and so on. So unfortunately, I think the answer is no. Michelle P says, Rob, the judge in the Bragg case is allowing the locker room tapes into evidence. What do they have to do with the payment case? Yeah, good question. He's also letting Michael Cohen testify, and he did postpone or agree to postpone the trial. So Monday is going to be oral arguments on some motions, essentially. It's going to be an argument day. And we'll see what happens there. But I think probably as, he'll say they're relevant to Trump doing this type of stuff that needs to be paid off, right? They'll say, okay, Trump engages in this type of behavior. That's why he has Michael Cohen. That's why he needed this settlement agreement and all the things, right? It's clearly to just smear Trump, but it's Judge Juan Mercan, so we know what he's doing. Jana P. What's up, Jana? Our newest supporter over on the YouTubes. Grateful to have you, Jana. Welcome. We got Witnessing Daily. Said, hey, Rob, if Trump asks you to be his counsel, would you? Of course, of course. If I'm called to serve, I would. I'd be his counsel and his vice president if he needs help. This old guy says, this is for the family show standards violation. Sorry, but it had to be said. All right, this old guy. So your comments over on the locals. So we'll make sure we squeeze that one in. Let me see if I can find it while we're here. This old guy, did you post it in the comment section on locals because I do not see it if you did. I don't see it over there. Where was the standards violation? Did we see it? Jennifer says, I want to make sure we get it, this old guy, so I want to make sure I don't miss it. Jennifer says, where will President Trump have his presidential library after this circus? Yeah, good question. I don't know. Florida, probably. Cowboy Rob says, Tish should have to sell his property at current market value and have to be monitored every step of the way to see what she actually values the property at. And whether she overinflates it to get more money for the sale. We got Knox says, welcome to the world, little Amelia. Grandpa's poem makes me cry. It's sweet, man. It's sweet to welcome a new baby in the house. Little Amelia. It's crazy. When I see little babies, I'm always just like, I kind of short circuit. I don't really know what's happening. First Amendment says, I'm sorry I haven't tipped in a while. It's no problem at all. No problem at all. No obligations here. I just want you to come over and enjoy the show. I had some banking issues, but a great show. Thank you, First Amendment. Very nice of you. Very generous. I do appreciate the support, but I also want you to never feel obligated to do it. B.H. Williams is here. Says BDS NYS. And I don't know what that stands for. Don't have anything good for us. Leanne says, geez, I'm so sick of listening to these opinions of these CNN and affiliates and these losers. Grr. Yeah, we listen to it just so we can maintain our tolerance level. You know, it's like working out. You want to be able to you don't want to be, we want to be able to handle it. Fortify ourselves is really where I'm going. Jigam says, you guys know what to do. Smash that like button from Jigam, our meme smith extraordinaire. Here's the meme. Smash that like button, baby. Urgh. Let's save the universe. Thor. Thank you, Jigam. Don't forget, smash that like button, my friends. We got V is never silent. Says chat check. Will a dono go through? Chat check. It worked. It worked. V is never silent. We got it. Gloria B has been a member for 12 months. Gloria B, a full year in the house. Thanks for being around for 12 months, supporting us all the way. Absolutely appreciate all you're doing, and thanks. Thank you, Gloria. Couldn't do it without you, so thank you for supporting us back. It's going to be another good 12 months. We got Just Rhonda says, yes, watch War Room. Stephanopoulos smeared all of Clinton's victims in that documentary. He's a hypocrite. Yeah, most of them are. Like, even remember, the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit was funded by Reid Hoffman, who is this savior of victims of assault, even though he was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein down at his island. What's that about? James F. is our newest YouTube member. Welcome aboard, James. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Witnessing daily as well. Membos only streams in the morning. Just Ranting, I think is here from South America, says Trump must sue everyone who lies about him. People believe the lies because he does not take action. They claim this is proof that he's guilty. I'm with you on that, Just Ranting. I see that stupid found liable of R claim all over the place. It's like, enough of that. It's not true. And the judge's excuse is just a contortion. So I agree. I like that he's going on the offense. Now, who knows where this lawsuit goes? It might get dismissed, and we'll see. But, hold their feet to the fire for these false claims. We got Goose Toots. Goose Toots is our newest supporter, Goose Toots. Thank you, Goose Toots. Grateful to have you in the house as our newest membo. And my friends, thank you for all of your generosity and your support. Teenager Rob called all the 1-900 numbers. I'm sure we did. I'm sure we did. But we couldn't pay for anything, you don't have a credit card or anything. So I'm sure we called. I mean, my friends, what were we doing? We were doing all the hooligan stuff. I have no doubt about that. Yeah, I'm sure that's true. All right, let's see who's following us on X. Anybody watching over there? Let's say hello to our friends on X before we wrap it up and call it a day and go on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our after party. Okay, this guy. Actually, Neil, he's not actually. Neil, did you miss the whole point of the show, Neil? You missed the whole point of the show, man. the point of the show is that he's actually not an R, okay? Go watch the show again. You missed it, apparently. Probably should watch it again. Salty Sarge is here. What's up, Azok? Azok says, I fell asleep again, so I watch your short videos. I don't know what those appeal reversals were. Probably one was on immunity or removal to federal court. Some of those. We got LA snarky retirees in the house. TJ King is in the house. Morticia's here. What's up, Paul? Paul shared it. Thank you, Paul. We got Sandy's here. Kat Ryan. We got some good comments here today, my friends. Mary W says, I'd love a less complicated explanation. I don't doubt it, but will she get in trouble? Plus, why are the banks with the actual fiduciary not being charged? Good question there from Mary. Yeah, a lot of good questions over here on X. James Pepper's in the house. Vientikis is here. Says, Rob, the answer to how I write so fast is very simple. Drugs. All right, that'll do it. That'll do it. Paul Mino says, the word of the day is Bergdorfed. Because E. Jean Carroll got Bergdorfed. Allegedly. Actually, she didn't get Bergdorfed, according to the jury. V says, let's call it the Trump rule. If someone says Trump did a thing, it means the speaker actually did the thing. The reason why is because doing the thing gives them the idea to look for evidence of Trump doing the thing. From Paul Mino, James Pepper says, get out of New York. Kat Ryan says, the confession through projection on the left is on point again. Paul, thanks for sharing it. Morticia's here. If Trump's defamation case and suit is successful, I would hope he's awarded enough to offset any fines from the Tish case. TJ's calling George Stephanopoulos a liar. That's true too. Malice has been established and it seals the case. And Lil Snarky retiree. Yeah, Michael Steele definitely lost. I don't know what happened with Michael Steele, but probably realized he had no talent or career and then just decided that he would jump over and hang out with lefty weirdos. So I think that's really his entire game. So that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We had a couple of other comments come in before we wrap it up. B.H. Williams says BDS equals boycott, divest, and sanctions. It's what all the lefties in the universities cry about Israel. Interesting. BDS. That's not what I was thinking. I was thinking like BDE, that one? Yeah. But anyways, okay. So boycott, divest, and sanctions, New York City. Maybe that's going to happen. We got Hypernova on Rumble. No, on YouTube. What's up, Hypernova? Thank you for the dono. Appreciate you on that one. And Freedom Forever says, the NSA is an executive branch. The National Security Advisor is under the president. Yeah, I think that's right. I think there was one agency like the Department of Energy or something that I thought may have had some parallel jurisdiction with Congress or something, that maybe it's not directly under the executive, but I wasn't sure about that. I'm not sure how that works. Chris is here. Hey, what's up, Chris? Hey, Robert, how's your day going? It's going great, man. I got up, had a good stream, did some show prep, got some exercise in, had a turkey sandwich for lunch. Pretty good. So pretty good. I hope your day's going well too, Chris. And I thought this show was good. I thought we had some good stories to talk about today. So all in all, I say a 10 out of 10. Here's one from this old guy. Says, a locals dono alert. I've had repeated issues with comments timing out, not posting. And thank you for that. This old guy says, after much discussion with support, I was assured the dono was still credited just for information because supporting our channel is important. Well, thank you, this old guy. I know there have been a couple of problems, and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So if you're, I think if you post sometimes I don't know where the error is happening. It's either in the dono or in the comment, but wherever it is, I'll read it. So I want to make sure I don't miss it. That's the point. I do appreciate the donation, but if it's not working, this old guy, I want to make sure you still drop the comment because I'll read the comment with or without the dono. That's my point. But thank you for that, this old guy. Thanks for trying. And this one is from Doxson. Says, a giant Trump statue located in Livingston, Illinois. How about that? It is a giant Trump statue. How about that? There you go, from Doxson. That is a big Trump statue. No doubt about that. Looks good. Make America great again. Londo says, here's a buck for the good people on locals. And thank you, Londo, for that one. And my friends, I think those came in and at the tail end, and I'm grateful for those. Thank you for sending those in. And again, here's the Trump picture, big old Trump. But that is where we are going to leave it on the day. We're going to wrap it up there. Head on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com to debrief in our after party. And I would love it if you joined us over there because we're going to hang out a bit. We also do streams in the morning and streams on Saturday, and we'd love to have you. So that is it for us on the day, my friends. Before we wrap it up, want to thank the mods and the meme smiths who mod down the fort for us and keep things nice and orderly, including our friends Vienticus Prime, K Bean, we got Just Cause, Playin' Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zulu, Beyond Geo, Zach Nichols, John Allen, Janik 909, Dog Digger, Donut Mind Me, and our friend John McGarvey from time to time. We got our meme smith, Sleepy Dog Lee, Nathan N810, and of course, Geegum Geegum, memeing down the fort for us. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com is where we're going next. We'd love to see you. But if not, well, tomorrow's Thursday, and we are going to be back here to get into it all again. And we need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.